Now that the NDP has a new leader, it's led a lot of people to become incredibly optimistic about the future of the party. But since the federal NDP has had some change in leadership, some of my criticisms haven't. And then some new ones have come up too. So first, I want to get out of the way because I know the comments are coming. I want the NDP to do well. I want them to do very well. I think this is incredibly important for the future of Canada as a whole. And if there are any problems, it's probably best to get them out now, before an election, or before another major opportunity presents itself to the NDP, so they don't mess it up again. Because right now, the NDP polling is absolutely flat. It has not moved basically at all since Avi Lewis became leader of the NDP. And I know I'm already gonna get some, mouth breathers in the comment section. It's only been a few months. That's fine and dandy, but I think it's probably best to take this as a sign that something is afoot, as opposed to the opposite, I guess. With all of that being said, I see 4 major problems that I have with Avi Lewis that I think stand in stark contrast to that of how Zoran Mamdani is leading in New York. I'm gonna play 2 clips for you. One of them is one of the first ever Zoran Mamdani clips that was posted for his campaign to become mayor. And it's Zoran Mamdani going to people who live in the Bronx and asking them why they voted for Donald Trump. And with Avi Lewis's clip, it's him going to Bay Street in Toronto, which is the Canadian equivalent of Wall Street in New York, and asking some of the people there about what they think of a wealth tax. And I'm not gonna be showing you both of the whole clips. I respect my time and your time too much for that. Just the only thing that I want you to think about, the only thing I want you to think about for the whole video, you can shut your brain off almost entirely for everything else. I just want you to think about one thing. I just want you to think about where the microphone is, how many times it's moved, and what that makes you feel about the person holding it.
It is an absolutely freezing day here on Bay Street. But if you talk to people around here about the fountains of wealth being generated, things warm right up.
Hillside Avenue in Queens and Fordham Road in the Bronx are 2 areas that saw the biggest shift towards Trump in last week's election. Even more residents didn't vote at all.
$27.3 billion in bonuses, performance-based pay in 1 year.
Yeah, but I mean, that's natural law, right? I mean, Plato's law, for example, right?
The swing is because people want lower prices. They probably believe that Trump would give them that.
Market crash all around.
Energy, gas.
La comida.
Food.
Most of these people are working families. They're working 1 to 2, 3 jobs, and rent is expensive. Foods are going up, utility bills are up.
Let's talk about a 1% wealth tax on the 1%.
Not wealth.
Yeah, wealth tax.
No, that's way too much.
If you're worth $7.3 million or more, you're going to pay 1% of your wealth.
1% of the wealth is crazy.
$8 billion a year, fix the healthcare system.
How's your healthcare going these days?
Have you voted for Democrats in the past?
I have.
And what would it take for you to vote for a Democrat in the future?
Being able to pay attention to the regular Americans and their economic needs.
They should make economics the forefront of their campaign.
People were not really feeling it in their pocket.
I voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016. I voted against Trump also in the 2018 midterms. Insulting us, playing on our emotions. All they do is shame you, and they just want to use glitzy campaigns, and they get celebrities.
I do have compassion for the people that are struggling. I do. It's
Why don't you want to do something about it?
I mean, I don't know. What are you supposed to do?
Redistribute that wealth, which is generated by all of us.
It's going to continue moving downwards until they keep taking more and more of the people's money that they make.
So if you just flip that logic on its head, it's how I see capitalism. The money just keeps going up and up.
It does.
And up. It's wedged at the top.
There's some truth to that.
And 1 in 4 parents is skipping a meal to feed their kids. And food bank use has doubled since 2019.
If you're speaking the things that people want to hear about, I don't care what color you are. I'll vote for you.
I've been waiting for you guys. Come talk to me about a wealth tax.
We don't like wealth tax.
I'm really hoping you're noticing what I'm getting at. Because when I was watching Avi Lewis talk with my favorite bald boy on CBC, I just felt like I didn't really like him for some reason, honest to God. He was saying a bunch of things that I agree with, and just for some reason, that didn't matter. I just didn't think he came off as all that likable in that video. And I kept thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it, and I think I now understand why I didn't like him. If you're going to be a populist, which you don't inherently have to be a socialist, but it does help. If you're going to purport to be the mouthpiece of the people, you don't need a mouth to do that. You need ears. And Avi Lewis just won't shut up and listen to someone. And it hurts you in your soul when you watch it happen. Zoran Mamdani is, I'm assuming, farther left than Avi Lewis. That's a fair assumption, but they're probably pretty close. And although these fine people don't know it, they were tricked into voting for a fascist. Trump supporters are more right-wing than these random rich people in Canadian Wall Street. What I'm actually getting at is the gap between the first ever Democratic Socialist mayor of New York City and Trump supporters in the Bronx should, theoretically speaking, be pretty big. And that gap for Zoran Mamdani and voters in the Bronx should probably be bigger than Avi Lewis just talking to a bunch of normal people he found on Canadian Wall Street. The gap between Zoran and these voters and Avi Lewis and these voters is larger, and still he finds the time to completely listen to them when he is at 1% in the polls. And Avi Lewis can't seem to stop himself from interrupting these people and pushing his point down their throat. And Avi, I'm telling you right now, you need to quickly look inward, however you need to do that, and reevaluate some of your decision-making process. Even think about like the framings of these two videos, write them out on a piece of paper if you have to. Zoran Mamdani goes to the Bronx, finds people who swung for Donald Trump and listens to them, versus Avi Lewis goes to Canadian Wall Street and talks to anyone he can find about a wealth tax. Compare those sentences. He chose his first video to be an incredibly combative video when he was coming up with an idea for what he should make his first video. And it's, let's go confront people on Bay Street about a wealth tax. And not even taking into consideration the fact that like, you're not even talking to like Elon Musk or Jeff, you're just talking to like Mr. Half Normal and like Mrs. Kind of Alright. Like, I don't feel the hatred that I would for Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos that I do for these people. These people are, I don't know them. They're fine, probably. And during the video, he is constantly going up to these people and cracking jokes about them sometimes and going up to them and being like, don't you care about poor and sick and dying people? Don't you care about healthcare? And it's like, Avi, what are you doing? That's not even the worst thing. I know that my next point is going to be like kind of hard because I'm trying to get like NDP voters or people who are like not socially conditioned, but like conditioned to be in favor of like social policies. Believe it or not, guys, wealth inequality is bad. It might be getting a little tad out of hand. And so it's kind of hard to feel bad for people who work on Bay Street. I understand that. I get it, okay? But at the end of the day, if you really want to get all socialist with it, the vast majority of the people in this video are not members of the owner class. And according to theory, they are still getting screwed over. Maybe not as much as everyone else, but they still are getting screwed over. They are still normal people. I may be wrong, but I don't think that this guy is Mr. Scotiabank himself. And so with all that being said, there is a point in this video where Avi Lewis makes a joke about someone in the video. Now, objectively, you probably shouldn't be doing that. You're trying to get these people's votes, so don't crack jokes at them, whatever. But I'm gonna play the joke right now.
So how are they making so much money?
Banks themselves manage their own risk in their own way, which is why it's often merited and justified in terms of how that pass-through happens for consumers at the end of the day.
I understood not a single word of that.
That's fair.
At the end of the day, he did just insult this voter, right? You can say what you want about what he said, but he did just insult them a little bit. He cracked the joke at his expense. But does anyone remember the punchline that Avi used? The joke is that he didn't understand anything the guy was saying. Like, what? Brother, what in the fuck are you? Why? Okay. Like, Avi, you are the leader of the NDP, and the joke is that you can't listen to a voter. You have to listen to... Whatever. I'm sorry. Like, you probably shouldn't be making jokes about how you don't understand what the guy is saying. You just... As a person who is trying to be a populist, you just probably shouldn't say that. Well, I'm sorry. I'm not saying you have to be a PhD in like stupid finance. I was gonna swear, stupid finance jargon. Okay, you don't have to do that. It's just optically. It's not even that big a deal. You don't have to understand the finance speak. But the joke is that the leader of the populist left-wing party doesn't understand. And not only that. But regarding the interview that I saw with him and David Cochran that I mentioned earlier in the video, there is just a point where he just laughs at at David Cochran's point. He just laughs at him.
You saying trade unions should be involved in the economic forecast? Because
why not?
Well, because
labor economists are really important for understanding things that bank economists don't see.
But they shifted it out to the private sector forecast because people would accuse governments of fudging the numbers and playing funny. So they are relying on a neutral party as a baseline.
If you want to get a neutral society, a neutral party that represents the scope of society, then you should see workers, movements, trade unions, and other organizations represented there, and not just banks, who have an interest in the way that these budgets get written, in the forecasts that underlie them.
But why would they do a forecast that is inaccurate or manipulated? No, sir.
Avi, this is condescending. Stop doing this. Now, you could argue that all these people deserve to be talked over and being smug to. That's fine. You could argue that. Honestly, God, you could. And if that's your point, it's the case that like, oh, I just have to... At the end of the day, I have to interrupt and talk over and, scoff at random people. Then honestly, just like, don't talk to these people. Then just don't do that. At the end of the day, you still face the responsibility for being on camera and being smug and disrespectful to someone. You did just still do that. Avi, if you have to react like that to people who are talking with you, don't put yourself in those kind of situations. You don't have to go to Bay Street. You don't have to go to CBC. Zoran Mamdani barely did any interviews with like a major news organization. If it's the case that you won't be able to show yourself as a kind, caring, empathetic person who has the ability to listen to people when they talk to him, then just don't do that scenario. Don't do that. If you have to act smug to the guy everyone knows for hosting CBC's Power and Politics, and if they don't already kind of like him, they are at least familiar with him. If you can't stop yourself from just like laughing at his point, then just don't go on CBC then. Just don't do that. Don't go to Bay Street and pressure like a bunch of random people about like enacting a wealth tax because people are dying, bro. People are dying. You know what would be a better idea? Just going to the people who are dying. If you want to make a video about how the healthcare system is underfunded, don't go to a bunch of Bay Street losers and talk over them. Why don't you just go to like people who are being abused by the healthcare system and let them talk over you? Why not just do that instead? If you want to make a video that'll make people more likely to support things that'll fund the healthcare system, why not just make a video that will make people more likely to support things that will fund the healthcare system? Why, brother? Socialism and anything that is near it, right? Democratic socialism, you know, social democracy, anything like that, uniquely has a problem. It is hard to get people to hate random rich people over what they're doing. Because it's like, it's hard to like blame Ronald Reagan for everything, right? Like, is it really the case that like, because of this, and then because of this, and because the government has less revenue, and then tax people, and the rich people can have all the money, that like, this person can have good health? Yes, it is the reason, but it's a long way to get there. It's not like unplugging someone's like healthcare machine or something. I don't know. I talk about economics and YouTube videos. I don't know, but it's just, it's like, it's 5 steps removed. And so it can be kind of hard to visualize the solution to these problems. That is like a inherent negative for anything that is like kind of far left. However, how cool would it be to just naturally work against that and just show like what is happening because of wealth inequality? Why not just do that? I had a point in my last video on this topic where I said that progressives should never, ever, 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 ever make taxing people a part of their policy. And instead, they should just focus on all the cool things they want to do with the money. And then when someone asks them, hey, how are you gonna fund it? Be like, oh, we'll tax rich people. And I had so many people in my comment section of that video being like, you're wrong, Hudson. You're actually stupid. People actually like taxes, and we should make that a core pillar of our policies instead of all the positive things we're gonna do with the money to make people's lives better. And I feel like you people are just wrong. Listen to yourselves for 2 seconds. Voters do not like hearing about all the taxes you plan on enacting. You people are actually retarded. I'm sorry. I'd like to apologize. I made a little goof. I'm gonna cool down a bit. The last thing I wanted to touch on for this topic before I moved on was the reaction from both of these people when they were informed that the person who was interviewing them was running for office.
Thank you for talking to me. My name is Avi Lewis.
Avi Lewis.
I'm running to be leader of the federal NDP.
Oh, okay. That was great meeting you.
So my name is Zoran Mamdani. I'm going to be running for mayor next year. Wow. Yes, sir. Wow. And I'm going to be running on that platform.
I'm going to vote for you. Your energy is...
Thank you. My energy's getting up to inflation.
And surprise, surprise, the person who listened to them more got a warmer reception when he informed them that he was running for office. And so with my entire point laid out, I think that we should learn from none of this. And I think we shouldn't take anything into account. And I think we should just keep doing what we were doing. And I think we should spend our entire time talking about all the tax plans we would love to enact while we berate some guy who got an internship at the Bank of Montreal headquarters. That's what I think we should do. And maybe, just maybe, if we talk about taxes just enough, then normal people will like us. Moving on to the most important part of the video, we have politicians posting on TikTok. Yippee! Yes, sir. If there's one thing that every brainlit politician has learned from Zoran Mamdani, it's that you need to constantly be posting videos on TikTok. And this is the only major video Avi Lewis has posted on YouTube post becoming a candidate. Like, that was actually meant for YouTube. Okay, it was not him post becoming a candidate, but it was still one of the few videos he's actually posted to YouTube just to post to YouTube. So, by the way, he's gone on CBC I think like 3 times so far. That's a ratio of 3 to 1. Now, if you just think about the places that are near Avi Lewis, this does kind of make sense. I assume that he is in Ottawa right now, and so it's much easier for him to go to CBC and do an interview than it is to like drive to Ronto and interview people. interview people. However, Avi Lewis, I'm going to give you specific, direct, actionable advice. Right now, leave the city. Leave, get out. No one wants you there. No one wants you there. You're not an MP. You can't vote on things, so stop pretending to be. Honestly, just get out. If ever the press has to do a thing in Ottawa, they have to, just slide Don Davies in there, okay? He'll make the point. He'll do it. He'll be fine. He'll do it. And you should stay out of Ottawa. Number one, people don't like the establishment right now unless you are Phil Dunphy with a PhD in economics, so seeming less like the stuffy guy in Parliament is best for you. It's best for you. And number two, people can sniff out an imposter pretty quickly. And right now, Avi, you are trying to be the leader that you just cannot be. You can't be. You're not in Parliament. You're just not. So here is what you're going to do, Avi. You are going to go onto YouTube and type into the search bar, More Perfect Union. You're going to go to their channel and filter it by the most popular. And whenever you have free time, you're going to put this on in the background because I assume you are quite the busy man. Then you're going to pack up and leave Ottawa with roughly $5,000 in camera and microphone and computer equipment. And oh my God, I'm just about to spit complete fire. I should be paid for this. Just do not ever doubt my political strategic insights. I've never missed ever. God, I'm just good at this. You ready for this? And you are going to go down the list of ridings that had the biggest switch from NDP to Conservative. You guys lost these people during the last election. This isn't Zoran Mamdani going to people who voted Biden and then voted Trump. These are people who voted for your party and then switched to your biggest competitor. And then once you have the list of these ridings, you are going to go to each one of these and film yourself talking to these people for a mini documentary. And you're going to spend just 90% of the time listening to other people. Or if you don't know what tone to take in a certain section or certain approach, you're either going to watch like these guys' YouTube videos and find the tone they take, or you email them, and I'm sure they would help you, honest to God. Or, good Lord, you could email me from my business email that is on my channel, and I would script, write, that's the same thing, record, edit videos, and you could pay me an exposure. I wouldn't care because you are not a politician. I wasn't in Winnipeg for the NDP convention, which was held on my birthday. So thank you, Avi. I appreciate that. Even though Winnipeg is the greatest city ever, go Jets go. I don't want to talk about that right now. It was a bad year. I don't want to talk about it. So who knows? Maybe what I am about to talk about did actually happen. I wasn't there. But as soon as you won the nomination, it should have displayed on a big banner, congrats, you are now a YouTuber. You're not a politician. You're not an MP. Take this time to get your ear to the ground and listen to people while you still have a chance. Get far away from the CBC and everywhere else and begin to develop your listening muscle. Grr. And please, for the love of God, if you do actually start making YouTube videos, do not just like get a slow shot of like the prairies and then like fade in some like slow, somber music or whatever. All the while you like listen to some brain dead conservative mouth off for a bit, just so that like after all of it's over, you could, brain deadly mouth off for a few minutes where you don't actually spend any time listening to the people. Actually listen to them and figure out what their pains are, and then figure out what the actual problem is, because human beings are horrible at coming up with solutions, but they're really good at identifying problems. I'm hoping that you're not too old to not want to learn from a young little smooth-brained boy such as myself, but that slides me in to my next point very well. You're not young, and you're not in fact Zoran Mamdani, and I think that's fine. I think it's fine, actually. Honest to God, I do. The NDP existed before Zoran and short-form vertical political content, and it will exist, hopefully, far after Zoran and short-form vertical political content. Bro, can you guys imagine, like, Tommy Douglas and, like, Pierre Elliott Trudeau getting in, like, a TikTok battle? Bro, it would be cinema. However, watching some of your videos that are a few months old, because you do need to post more, my guy. Good Lord, keep up. You need to post way more. Watching your videos, I realized you've always been a fighter. You were picking fights with like Doug Ford before, when I was still a conservative. Okay, you've been doing that you've been doing this for a long time. And this was the video that I watched from you that showed me, okay, there's a chance here. You can do this. But it wasn't those really cool shots where you argue with Doug Ford or you bullied a disabled man. It was this specific shot here that kind of made me like you. And this one right here where I realized, oh my God, he was hot. But this one mainly, there's just so much to this one shot that like actually makes me like you, like a lot. By the way, I don't know who edited or filmed this video like as a whole, but my guy, you gotta study eye lines and movement and like shutter speeds and color grading and stuff, because the editing on this video is bad. Some of the fancy stuff is cute, like the shot from like where it goes up into the forest fire thing, that was cool. But some of the basic like meat and potatoes continuity editing and like eye line stuff is just, it's bad. It's really tricky. It's just not good, honestly. Tangent aside, I like this so much more than I like this. Avi, I don't want you to change who you are in the slightest. Honest to God, I don't. However, we have a limited shelf space for what we are able to show to the public, and I want you to take a few of those things down and replace them with other things that I know you have. For starters, spend the vast majority of your time doing this stuff. Clearly, you can do stuff like this, and I have not seen nearly enough of it from your campaign. And second, there's a topic from my previous video where I talk about like, or I mentioned like the happy populist, like that whole section. And speaking on that, I learned this from my mom the other day, and me and her were both talking about why we both like our premier and our prime minister, Wab Kinew and Mark Carney. And she talked about like a sneakiness factor. And I think voters kind of like a candidate who is like a little sneaky. It's kind of hot, okay? I won't lie, it is, all right? And I think when you're fighting with people, I don't think you should ever be laughing at them or scoff at someone, but like that little, like smiling is fine. Like that little, like, you know, like that smile, that is perfectly fine. People like people who are confident about what they're doing and are going on a plan that they have. And it makes it seem like you have everything under control. Plus it's just really hot. It's just so hot. The confidence that only comes from like knowing you can handle things and not telling us. That's why Wab Kinew and Mark Carney have so many middle-aged women fawn over them. It's because they're professional, but it feels like they got a little devious side to them. Good Lord. The difference between smiling at someone versus laughing at what they said is like, oh, I knew this was coming, and like, that's ridiculous. Is all of this just aura farming? Yes. It's just a descriptive way of talking about aura farming. It is. Is this my dumbest point? Definitely. Absolutely it is. But I want you to spend more time listening to people who need to be listened to. And instead of interrupting people who disagree with you, I need you to start mogging them, okay? Don't interrupt them. Just like that. Take it in like you've been here before and you know you can take it down, and so you're fine with them trying to take you down. This is absolutely my dumbest point, but just please take these little tweaks into consideration, and I think you will start to benefit from it. More time listening and more time looking like this guy when your opponents are talking, and I think you'll be doing great, man. Now this is the final topic. Now listen here, Jack. I understand the NDP isn't in the best financial situation right now, so I'm suggesting you do this. I want you to LARP as Zoran Mamdani for a bit and explain to Canadians the fiscal situation that your predecessors have put you in. I remembered you're over 40. LARP means live action role play. It's what those people who dress up as wizards in the park do. And young Gen Zers, they use the word in a context like pretend, right? I'm gonna go LARP as a policeman. And so I see a indigenous man minding his own business, and I gotta protect the peace and stop that from happening. Make a speech where you talk about how you're gonna be spending less money on like CBC ads or whatever, and more money on paying down the debt that your party is in. Talk about how you're going to be trading in political performance for long-term stability, and how you're going to be trying your best to fix the situation that your party is in, even if it means that you do slightly worse in the next election. If you do this, you will have the benefit of looking like a fiscally sound progressive, which is nice. Mark Carney won't even balance the federal budget, and NDP leaders before you haven't been able to, but you're changing that. And also it will signify that there is an actual change with the party that is suffering from a brand appeal collapse that comes from the perception that the party isn't changing enough. And just make sure you're honest with people before you ask for their money. When I ask for money from my viewers, I don't say like, oh, I'm gonna go bankrupt in 30 days and 28 days, and I got the laser eyes over my face. I usually say something like, hey, if you think what I'm doing is important and you think I should keep making political videos in this country, and you have the means to, then becoming a member for just a few bucks a month makes me that much more likely to keep doing this, and you get access to all these cool, crazy emotes. I did just put this in here so I could mention that, all right? I did, all right? Sue me. The bar is so low in politics. So long as people feel like you aren't lying or you're telling the truth, or even if they, they get the feeling that like, I like him because he tells it how it is as you lie to their face, then especially of all, socialists are willing to financially support things if it increases the chance that like things actually get better in their country. Not everyone will do that. Those people have their own things going on, and it's hard being a young person in this country in 2026. But a prominent minority will have the ability and care to do something, and that's all you need. I did put this in here so I could mention the memberships, okay? I don't care. Thank you to everyone on screen right now who became a member. It really helps. As much as I uselessly yap about becoming a member, the best way to support me is by watching another video, which you can specifically do right here about this video, which is a sequel to this one, or it's a prequel to this one. I mean, it came out first. Watch the video, please.